Good afternoon, and welcome to From Where We Are. Stories of news and culture through the lens of USC, Southern California, and beyond. From Denver, Colorado, I'm Fiona Pastana. On today's show, a frequent fire evacuee shares her stories, and Tuesday's presidential debate sparks strong opinions. All that and more from Where We Are. But first, these news headlines.
From Annenberg Media, I'm Ayana White. Federal aid for airlines given because of coronavirus expired today, and Congress has not been able to agree on a new stimulus package. So today, United, American, and other airlines began furloughing about 30,000 workers. Amazon disclosed today that more than 19,000 of its employees contracted coronavirus. The American Red Cross says that nationwide, disaster victims have used more emergency housing this year than in any other year during the past decade. So far, in 2020, the Red Cross has provided more than 800,000 nights of shelter, mostly to people affected by storms and fires. Today is China's National Day, which celebrates the formation of the People's Republic of China. And today, Hong Kong police arrested more than 60 people at pro-democracy gatherings. Former President Jimmy Carter turns 96 today, and October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Spread awareness of the disease with the signature ribbons in pink. Those are some of the top stories in the news. For Annenberg Media, I'm Ayana White.
Amidst one of California's worst fire seasons in history, with almost 4 million acres burned this year, 29 people killed, and 7,200 structures destroyed statewide, and the glass fire in Sonoma and Napa counties is only adding to the disaster. Marissa Zayed spoke with a local resident about her evacuation experiences with the fires.
Irene Hodes lives in Healdsburg, California, where she's about a 15-minute drive from the glass fire in Sonoma County. She says the air is filled with smoke and she's desperately keeping tabs on the spread.
I've got at any time like 4 web pages or more open showing weather conditions and topographical maps and where the fires are now and where we expect it to move in the next few hours. It's kind of crazy. Everybody's an amateur meteorologist now.
But sadly, it's not that crazy. In the past 5 years alone, dozens of major fires have destroyed hundreds of thousands of acres, countless homes, and many lives.
2019 was the most serious. My entire town was immediately evacuated, like the first day within 24 hours of a fire starting.
Hodes is talking about the massive Kincaid fire that burned more than 400 homes and businesses.
I didn't actually realize at that point what the difference between 1 mile and 5 miles is, what the difference between a field and a valley are, what a mountainside means.
But now she does. She says she has to.
We have slowly become really, really well acquainted with all sorts of satellite maps.
And Hodes is ready to go at a moment's notice. She keeps her car packed with emergency supplies. Her gas tank is always filled, and she has 2 cat carriers by the door in case she has to bolt. But this year, she says, COVID is adding another layer of concern.
People who don't have places to go, or immediately if they have livestock, if they are chased out of their homes in their pajamas because it's really, really close in the middle of the night, they go to evacuation centers. But this time you can't crowd people into a building. You can't put like 100 cots in a room. So there's the added complication of trying to get beds.
Irene is fortunate. She has a friend in San Francisco, and that's where she goes when she needs to evacuate. But this constant moving back and forth has taken its toll. She says it makes feeling part of a community a challenge.
It's difficult. I want to say that I'm lucky in some ways, and everybody's situation is very unique, but I don't have any family in California. I'm single. And when you build a community, a strong one in your location, but everyone's evacuated in your community, you don't really have a good friend half an hour away to go to.
And that's hard on her.
I question why I'm here sometimes. Like, I think about leaving all the time. Because the only way to sort of get by here is just resigning yourself to the fact that fire season gets longer and longer, and you just have to deal with it.
For now, Hode says she'll stay put in the place she calls home, but eventually she plans to leave. For Annenberg Media, I'm Marissa Zayed.
You're listening to From Where We Are. I'm Fiona Pastana. Stay with us.
Are you willing tonight to condemn white supremacists and militia groups and to say that they need to stand down and not add to the violence in a number of these cities, as we saw in Kenosha and as we've seen in Portland?
Sure,
Are you
I'm
prepared
willing to do
specifically
that, but
do it? Well, go ahead, sir.
I would say almost everything I see is from the left wing, not from the right wing.
So what are you saying?
I'm willing to do anything. I want to see peace.
Then do it, sir.
Say it. Do it. Say it. You want to call them? What do you want to call them? Give me a name. Give me a
white
name.
Supremacists and
Who would
right
you like me to condemn?
White supremacists and right
Proud
militia.
Boys, stand back and stand by. But I'll tell you what. Somebody's got to do something about Antifa and the left.
At the presidential debate, Donald Trump was asked to clearly denounce white supremacy, and he said he would, but he didn't. Jeha Joshua Chang followed up with a diverse group of Trojans about their thoughts.
Today, White House Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany said the president has denounced white supremacy often.
Yesterday, he was point blank asked, do you denounce white supremacy? And he said, I've always denounced any form of that. I can go back and read for you in August 2019, in one voice, our nation must condemn racism, bigotry, and white supremacy. In August of 2017, racism is evil, and those who cause violence in its name are criminals and thugs, including the KKK, neo-Nazis, white supremacists, and other hate groups. I have an entire list of these quotes that I can go through with you. He has condemned white supremacy more than any president in modern history.
But Jewish and POC Trojans say they're not buying it.
I mean, of course Donald Trump wouldn't denounce white supremacy. Why would he?
I mean, I think it's not surprising at all.
I'm not surprised at all that Trump wouldn't denounce white supremacy.
Journalism senior Jaylene Lopez is Afro-Dominican American. She says Trump's policies to target Black, brown, and undocumented people makes him a white supremacist.
He's shown his racism since he started campaigning for the 2016 election. My concern at this point is that we're clearly going down a slippery slope into a fascist regime, especially now that we know that there have been hysterectomies of immigrant women. So his refusal to condemn white supremacists is terrifying, but unfortunately, it's very predictable.
Lucy Allen is a senior studying cinema and media studies. They are Jewish American. They say, despite McEnany's statement, he is still spouting racist and xenophobic rhetoric, and therefore makes him a white supremacist.
Because his campaign, his rhetoric, and what he's done as president all lend themselves to a belief in not only maintaining systemic white supremacy, but also stoking white supremacist and white nationalist sort of rhetoric among his followers and among radically far right groups.
And if this is not worrying enough, the problem is bigger than Donald Trump, says Alexander Ye. He is a junior studying art. He is Chinese American. He says regardless of McEnany's statement, Trump refuses to really confront America's racist past, and therefore that makes him a white supremacist.
White supremacy to Donald Trump and in the US is not an isolated incident. It's not just him. It's not even just the Republicans. It's everybody. It's been built into this country since, since the colonists landed here. But because white supremacy is so deeply entangled in the origins of the US and the resulting culture that we have here, then obviously he's losing pretty much almost everybody, since his entire fan base is predicated on those ideas.
Ideas that are based in white supremacy. For Annenberg Media, I am Jiha Joshua Chang.
The question is, radical left.
Will you shut up, man?
Listen, who is on your list, Joe? Who's on your list?
Correct. Gentlemen, I think we've ended this.
Unprecedented.
Presidential debate or name-calling tug-of-war? The country watched Tuesday night as President Donald Trump and Vice President Joe Biden participated in a chaotic debate, leaving many first-time voters wondering about the value presidential debates have in our democracy going forward. Many college students came out of the debate either with even more questions than before or feeling as though they had wasted their time, leaving first-time voters wondering about the value presidential debates may have in our democracy going forward. This begs the question, do presidential debates still matter in 2020? Catherine Salisbury spoke to college students and first-time voters about the importance, or lack thereof, of presidential debates.
Many college students came out of Tuesday's debate either with even more questions than before or feeling as though they had wasted their time. Some are questioning whether we should even go forward with future debates between Trump and Biden, and if so, what modifications need to be made to the debate rules to ensure a more productive discussion of the issues. USC sophomore neuroscience major Caroline Hensley believes the debates should continue, but with certain rule modifications in place.
I believe we should continue to have these debates because I think they're important to see how our presidents react under pressure and how they present themselves in front of the public. I think in terms of rules going forward, I think there were rules in place, but maybe having the presidents agree to abide by them, or perhaps even turning off their mics to decrease interruption.
Ryan Baer, a sophomore at USC, also thinks going forward with debates is the best idea.
Yes, I think that we should continue to have the presidential debates, because I think if we don't continue with these next two, then people will just be left confused off of the last debate. I think it's one of the few ways that we can really hear from the presidents and get a better understanding of what they plan to do in office for the next 4 years. And without that, it's kind of hard to judge who would be the better fit.
Senior real estate major Anna Giannini found the debate disturbing, but also still sees the value in continuing the public conversation between these candidates.
I thought that the debate was an embarrassment to our country. It was just a mess. While it was very unproductive, I do think it was still somewhat informative. And I do think that we should continue doing the debates, because although it was kind of a mess and they were talking over each other the whole time and no one got a full sentence in.
Allison Carter, a Vanderbilt sophomore studying political science and history, says that more focused questions and responses might lead to a more productive debate.
Honestly, I did not find much value in this past debate, just because for me it lacked substantive policy claims and questions, and it all felt like more vague personal jabs and the candidates trying to give justifications for their past actions. So I hope that in the future debates, there'll be better leading questions with more streamlined answers that will be completely centered around policy so that the American voters can get the information that they actually need to make an informed decision.
So it seems like students and first-time voters want to go forward with debates. We'll have to wait and see if rule modifications or restructuring can provide Americans with an informative and productive debate in the coming weeks. For Annenberg Media, I'm Catherine Salisbury.
And that's all for today's From Where We Are. I'm Fiona Pestana, today's producer and host. Ayana White and Jeha Joshua Chang are executive producers. We had help from Reagan Griffin Jr., Emily Suarez, Katie Clark, and Catherine Salisbury. From all of us at Annenberg Media, we'll see you again next week.
Great.
Oh, wait,
Good job.